just you. No, here I
Hey,
am.
there he is. Hey, Howie.
Come on, you gotta have both gorillas here, or it won't make any sense.
Annika, Fitness Gorilla Show. There's two of us, and we have a special Fitness Gorilla guest.
Yeah,
The Fitness Gorillas are back in
we're
town.
in town, and I'm in the frame now. Hang on, let me just adjust. We're very professional here. The special effects are everything to us. Eric, so we have an interesting guy today to talk to us about basically starting a new enterprise with 16 clubs. It's a good thing to hear finally something good, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about him. He's 7 foot tall, 400 pounds of muscle, almost. He's on the board of directors of URSA, former VP of Bally's. Everyone has heard of Bally's, and 24-hour fitness. So he's been around for a few decades. He knows everything about the industry. A couple of exciting things that we're going to learn about. Number one, he's in Canada, and we haven't heard how, Vancouver to be exact, we haven't heard how that's going. And we'll hear from him on that and a few other things. And the exciting news is he's got a brand new company called Fitness World. He picked these 16 clubs up from a former company that didn't reopen during the COVID situation. So what's he going to do? How did he get it? What did he experience and learn through that process? And now, what is he going to do with these, launching literally today two, tomorrow another one, and the other 13 in the next week or so. So he's gone through a tornado. He's still in the middle of a tornado. So let's hear what he has to say,
Well,
how he's doing.
it's good that he's taking the time out to meet with us online
Yeah,
here today because
that's
I have
right.
a lot of questions too.
Well, yeah, actually, it's great that he agreed to come on because he literally is in the middle of a million things. So let's give a warm welcome to Chris Smith.
Come on out, Chris. There he is.
Hey, Chris.
Hello, hello.
Welcome
Gentlemen,
to the
how are
Fitness
you?
Gorillas.
Fitness Gorilla, number 3, right there.
We
Yeah.
issue a temporary pass to all the good guests,
Okay. I'll do the best I can to live
but it
up to
can
your
be
hype.
revoked. So watch it.
Well, welcome and thanks for coming. We know you are absolutely in a hurricane.
Appreciate that. I had very, very busy days, early mornings and late nights, but it's all worth it. So it's all good.
So walk us back, Chris. I mean, you're in Vancouver now. Walk us back to a couple of months ago when you decided that you were going to go after these. At that time, you didn't know exactly how many clubs you could get, but that you saw the opportunity through the COVID and you wanted to open up this unbelievably fantastic new company.
Yeah. Yeah. So the new entity in terms of Fitness World was really born out of a suggestion. And so I was staying in contact with a number of close friends and relationships in the industry, just kind of getting advice kind of through this process. And then ultimately, it's really just a number of people suggesting, say, hey, why don't you take a swing at it? And if not you, like, why not you? And so I said, okay, I think you're right. Like, why not me? I know the market, I know the marketplace, I know the people, I know the players, know the industry certainly, or like to think I do. And so, yeah, we just reached out and decided to put a bid out there. And part of this bid process, which was conducted as an open bid process, everyone could have, bid on the business. What was interesting is actually bids, I had people from all over the world that were calling me because the way that the business was auctioned, if you will, it went out to so many people. There wasn't really anyone that didn't know that it was for sale. Ultimately, yeah, our bid was selected as the winning bid. And then you go through all the, fun negotiations of, term sheets and shareholders agreements and all the things that's necessary to form a new entity. And then, I think as you probably mentioned there, it's not going just to, we're trying to open a gym. We're opening 15, 16 of them more or less simultaneously. So it's organized chaos to say the least. So it's definitely been a long and interesting process.
I have a
How
question.
long?
Chris.
How long, Chris? Sorry, Howie. How long has it been?
Well, really, I mean, this process really began probably at the end of March, and is probably when it started. And then I would say certainly by the middle of April is when I was really building out a pro forma and business models and using all these different folks I had resources with and different marketplaces I've worked with in the past, and I use CFOs from other businesses as an example to help me build the pro forma or help think about how to finance and debt structure and all the different things that were necessary to kind of build it out. And then obviously brought that stuff back in-house and then had industry people, polish it off and really make sure that everything made sense back to the opportunity and what we were trying to accomplish in terms of putting this business together.
So I have a that's yeah, I know we've been through things like that too, and it's intensive meetings, and your eyes are glazed over, and it's something. But what I'm interested in, since you have 16 clubs to basically staff, how are you reaching out, or how did you reach out to get all your staff back, or the staff that were previously engaged there possibly, or
Yeah.
new staff, or what? And are you running it leaner than it had been before, or this other group that you took over from?
Yeah, I mean, part of the actual bid process was a commitment to interview or try to hire back as many of the former staff members that were part of this entity. That ultimately went through what's called a NOI, notice of intention process. That's now moved into a receivership, if you will, with the trustee and such. But yeah, that was a condition of our bid, and so we kind of said that, hey, we're going to go after and try to hire back really as many of them as possible. But to your point, it's a whole new fitness world, and so everything we're doing is different. So from the business model that we're running, the staffing model that we're running, commission structure that we're running, policies, procedures, all that stuff is new and different. So there is a little bit of a learning curve. We were able to, it ties back to the people. The learning curve is easier for the staff because we were able to go back and work with some of the key partners. Right. So we use MotionSoft or Moso on our back end of things. We use InTouch as a front end CRM. So we're working with both of them again. So the learning curve of our staff from a system standpoint is very, very short, and that's a pretty short runway. Yeah, it's just really retraining people on, what we have to do to be COVID compliant.
Chris, from what I understand, is you're also changing your pricing model, going from a much greater number to the value membership. That must be a big deal. And why did you decide to do that? And what's the biggest challenge on that?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of business rationale. I think the marketplace all over the world has seen low cost continue to be more and more of a factor. And certainly here in Vancouver, it's become, more and more disruptive. There's several competitive brands here in that arena. And so this was an opportunity to, change it up, do something different, move it into just this very specific opportunity around low cost, high value memberships. Are still going to be big differentiators. We'll still have small group training. We'll have group fitness classes with an instructor, not virtual. We'll have virtual options as well, but there's still going to be live instruction, a lot of those kind of key elements to differentiate against that high value offering. But memberships will start as low as $750 biweekly in terms of dues. And then, there'll be bundled memberships that move up all the way up to from $750, $1,250, and $1,950 will kind of be our 3-tiered membership options. We'll have relaxation, hydro massage, tanning, all those kind of things. So an all-encompassing, fitness experience at really great value. And we think it'll be something that Vancouver doesn't have. And we think there's a place for us for differentiation there. It'll be significant in the marketplace.
It sounds amazing. So the members are literally getting what they got before, and actually you're enhancing your studios by adding some new ideas, as you mentioned, hydro massage and a few other things, for as that type of a low cost price. So your members are going to be thrilled, and they're going to hopefully all come back.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask. How are you reaching out to the people that were members of the clubs that you've taken over? I mean, how are you A, reaching out to them, and B, if you've already done that, how is the response so far?
It's pretty good, and for the most part, very, very positive. I mean, a lot of people want to come back, not just for the physical fitness elements, but obviously the mental health and everything that just goes with working out. And this situation's been challenging for everybody, certainly. But there's been good response. The club's been busy today. I've been in the club since early this morning. I'm here now. That's where I'm talking to you from, is one of the clubs. And it's been really, really good. And response has been tremendous. we've been reaching out via email, doing stuff on social media, Facebook and Instagram, those sorts of places. Email being namely the main source. And we have, a good chunk of the emails of the previous, the group and those members. And so reaching out to them, and typically we send out an email to call it 80,000 people. We'll get kind of 5,000 responses with questions, seeking more information and everything they want to know. And then, we've been just trying to take care of as many of them as possible. One of the big decisions we made with this group is that we're honoring all of the previous memberships, and we're honoring all of the previous personal training. So we've taken on all of that from a service perspective to be able to take care of as many of those people as possible, get them back in the club, and to honor as many of those contracts or service agreements, for really anyone and everyone that wants to, we're honoring them. And so that was a big decision for us, but certainly there's a cost to doing that, but we just felt it was the right thing to do, and it was the right thing from a goodwill perspective for the community and for these clubs, and to really kind of embrace everyone back into this new fitness world.
Well, that is
very
powerful, very smart for the future. It's a win-win-win for everyone. There is a cost, but not in the long run, because these are all happy new members starting a brand new journey, increased facilities, cheaper pricing. I mean, what more can they ask for? It's very rare that new companies take on that. A lot of deferred revenue, a lot of, all the stuff that you take on. Well, congratulations. I think that's a wonderful move. And they probably won't kick you out of Ursa either.
Yeah, I hope not. Not for long.
Not yet.
What's the situation? Oh, go ahead, Howie. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, has this new enterprise been picked up by local media? You'd think that this would be a great feel-good story in this, coming out of this hellish time for everybody, really, not just business people. And are they picking up on the fact that you're honoring everything, and that it's a whole new thing? It's going to be less expensive and more, more for your bang for your buck. And is any local, or I guess you're doing some PR too, but I mean, how has that played out? Have you gotten any attention, in the recent few weeks?
Yeah, great question, Howie. I mean, what I would tell you is there's been a lot of attention around it. Unfortunately, it's been the other narrative where a lot of people want to talk about how this business went bankrupt and everybody was negatively affected. But I think to your point, where you're headed, at least with your question, and I certainly am happy to answer it because it's a question I want to answer and speak to, is it is a great Canadian success story. This is a business coming out of a tough situation, and there's businesses in every sector that have closed down, been impacted, gone bankrupt, gone through some things, and this is a great success story of one that's coming out the other side and has done so in a matter of just several months. And I think that's tremendous for everybody in terms of what's happening here. And so, yeah, it is a great story. And no, unfortunately, that story is not getting enough attention yet. Hopefully that will become the narrative, and that's what more people will continue to understand in terms of what's happening here. But that's certainly something we need to continue to put out. Yeah, we have a PR group and marketing folks and people that want to kind of go out and make sure and share that message. Because in a lot of cases, I think people talk about controlling the narrative. This isn't about controlling the narrative. This is about telling the truth. And this is about talking about, like, let's understand what happened here. And if you really kind of step back and you look at all the facts of what's transpired and what's taken place, an ownership group walked away from a previous entity. I was able to go out and successfully find a new investor for this business. We're coming out the other side. We partnered with, the Bank of Montreal, who owned the debt to do that. And it's just been a tremendous, tremendous partnership. It's something that's, it's very unique in business, what we've been able to put together, but it'll be tremendous for everybody, including all the members and all the stakeholders in terms of the team members that we're able to bring back into business, et cetera, and create livelihoods and jobs and income. And again, a great facility, and 16 of them across the lower mainland of BC, to be able to service all these folks. I mean, it's really, I'm very proud already, and I'm going to be more proud as time goes on, but it's very, very remarkable in the sense of what we've been able to accomplish. I mean, I have a lot of people that kind of just shake their head and they're like, I don't know how you're pulling this off, but, kudos to you, because like most people couldn't or wouldn't do this. I'm like, well, I am, and we are. And so we're excited.
Well, I would think great. That's great. But I would think that in the current situation, just right now almost, or as soon as you can get your head around it, getting your member testimonials now to out on social
Absolutely,
media
yeah.
are going to be
That's what I was
massively
gonna say.
important. Yeah.
That's
Because,
where the PR is
hey,
gonna come
they gave me
from.
my thing. It's half the price it was before. It's going to be, PR is one way, but I mean, member testimonials, get them on their own Instagrams.
That-
Get
nothing
them
is more
everywhere.
powerful than that, and
Yeah, everywhere.
nothing's more
Facebook,
powerful.
Instagram.
Than your 40, 50,000 members that say, "I can't believe what happened."
They're
This
honoring
is the
this, they're
success
honoring
stories.
that. Yeah,
you know.
it's even more stuff for half the month. It's really, it's a great opportunity to really
It
blast
is.
in the next few months.
And Chris, I've seen many different methods to encourage your members to post and et cetera, by offering them certain incentives. Have you got anything planned for that?
It's interesting. I would say we've talked about it and thought about it, but I've been in, dozens of conversations with members today. I don't think I'm going to have to. They want to tell the story for us.
Yeah.
A lot
What
of people are excited. They want to be back. I was talking to some gentlemen earlier that were asking, lots of questions. And at the end of the questions, they're like, well, I got to post this. I got to text all my buddies. I got to let everybody know. And I'm like, absolutely. Get the message
Great.
out. Let them know. And so, yeah, there's things you can do, certainly, I think, at a certain stage in a business to incentivize people to maybe help you with your business or help promote your messaging. At this stage, I think there's just an awful lot of people that are excited. Back to the previous question, they're excited to see this business reopen. They're excited to know that there's a plan going forward. They're excited for the price points, all the services, the amenities, everything. And they're going to your guys' point, they're going to tell that story for free because it's a compelling story. It's exciting. And we don't really have to incentivize it yet. To go share that message.
No, I agree. It's better anyway. I mean, it comes. If it sounds canned, it doesn't fly. But
Yeah.
what do you hear? What do you hear from the rest of the industry out there in British Columbia? I know what's going on here in Quebec, but I mean, you guys have been allowed to be open for about 6 weeks already, no? Out there,
Yeah, they've been since May 19th.
May
So,
19th. So yeah, 6 weeks.
Yeah,
So
so that's when
how's
clubs
it
originally
going?
start to reopen. So, yeah, you saw a number of, I would say the independent operators were the first to open. In the first week of June, you saw Club 16 here. I believe they opened right in that time frame. Around June 22nd, Good Life here in BC opened up the majority of their clubs, at least the ones that they intended to reopen. I think
Right.
a couple of them may have shut down permanently. But yeah, you saw just kind of a phased opening approach. WorkSafe BC came out with their COVID-19 standards. Everyone's using those as a standard, and then I think some are putting on additional layers of what they feel is necessary for their business in terms of protocols and procedures and everything for COVID. But yeah, so there's been just a variation of things, but I think everyone has been complying. BC as a whole has done a tremendous job with managing this crisis as a whole, and so it's just a little bit different. I mean, I didn't check the numbers in the last 2-3 days because they're so low, right? It's just such a non kind of issue, and I think everyone is cognizant. So people are wearing masks inside businesses. Many people are still wearing masks on the street. Everyone's aware that the crisis isn't over. Be vigilant, be responsible, be a good citizen. Which different than the U.S. Certainly a different approach
Yeah.
than the
That's
U.S.
what I was going to say, because here in Montreal, I belong to a very high end, at least for Montreal, location owned by the Tennis Clubs of America. Anyway, they've put in some unbelievably really strict. They're following through. They've got like 4 people. It's a huge place. It's anyway. But the thing is that they've got 2 or 3 staff cleaning at all times. If once you get off a machine, you clean it. They clean it. And then someone else cleans it when they get back on it. So people are very, very aware of it. I'm just wondering, at least in this place, are they going to keep on top of it, or you get complacent after a while? But no, British Columbia's done an unbelievable job. Let's just say that Quebec is 20 times worse than British Columbia in terms of cases and unfortunate deaths. So but they're
Hey,
open.
Chris,
We're open here.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Chris a question about how you are dealing with two. It's two questions in one. Tell me about your approaching the landlords, how they responded to you, what was your tactic, and then, from what I understand, the language that you put in for the future, if there, God forbid, is a recurrence of the COVID and there is a shutdown. Everyone wants to know how you did it, Chris.
Well, I don't know how I did it, but we did it. But that's, I guess, the easiest
You
part.
forgot already, huh?
Well, I mean, no, I haven't forgotten. I'm scarred. But what I would say is,
Scarred, traumatized.
yeah, because of how things ended with the entity and how the bank handled the proceedings, whatever, the landlord saw no rent during that period of time. And so all of the leases essentially had to be renegotiated. So ultimately, the best approach there was to really go use those as kind of precedent documents, create addendums, and then we renegotiated the leases with each and every one of them from a rate perspective. And, variable rates, different landlords did different things, but we've got some that, perhaps there's up to 9 months of, say, free rent. Some are, no free rent in the beginning. And based on the historical performance of that location, we use that information to guide us in terms of our least comfortability from what we thought that club could do for their overall network contribution. I mean, really, at the end of the day, there's still a lot of risk in this business, as there is in everything when you're an entrepreneur and you're going out trying to, make it happen and taking a chance. And this business is no different than any other in that respect. And so, yeah, I mean, we got to work hard. We're going to have to do a lot of really good things to get this business off the ground. But once we do that, and we will, it'll perform at a high level. The specific thing you talked back to was, in addition to the rates, the other thing we went back to all the landlords with was some pandemic language. So, there's a lot of this you're hearing about across, frankly, North America is really where I'm hearing most of the noise around insurance and the force majeure clauses that are in the leases, and basically that nobody is really covered from a business interruption standpoint. Well, I think that's all going to get tested in court. I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits as it relates to that, because this black swan event, no one's ever seen anything like this before. So in all reality, most of the contracts just didn't speak to this in one way or another. So what we've done is inserted in the new leases and these addendums very specific language that speaks to essentially a pandemic or a force majeure event such as this. So if for some reason BC was to lose control of all the great work they've done, if there's another government shutdown, if you will, of all the health clubs, that as a business, we've just kind of written in some protections that give us the ability to survive, if you will, any future event and not be forced into some type of future insolvency. And so that's really what we did. And yeah, that was a lot of heavy lifting. Got a couple great broker partners, third-party partners that they did, a lot of the heavy lifting there. And certainly appreciative of all that time, energy, and effort, because yeah, it was a lot.
Wow, well, congratulations. You got
Yeah,
16 clubs.
But that's going to be part of almost every commercial business lease from now on. It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean,
here in California, they shut down again, yeah?
Yeah.
So all of your friends, Chris, in California, open for 2 weeks and then shut down again.
We've had a few on. We've had a few on the show that are just like, they want.
Curtis was on TV. Yeah, Curtis was on TV. Not him, but one of his clubs that he opened. He put it outside, which is allowed, but for some reason the governor's team shut off his electricity, and by mistake shut his and 5 other businesses. One was a butcher shop and lost $25,000 of meat. But that's what's happening here in California.
Yeah, it's a disaster.
Not good.
Not good.
Hey, I have a question for you, Chris. So you're American, and I guess you live in Vancouver, in BC, or in Washington.
Yeah, I have places on both sides of the border.
Okay, so how often do you cross the border?
Almost daily. So I'm a U.S. citizen, and then I'm a Canadian permanent resident.
Right.
That's my Canadian status.
So how hard is it to cross the border these days? We can't even do it unless you have an actual situation like yours. We're not allowed to go to the United States, and no one from the States literally is supposed to come in here at all unless it's an approved reason. And so how hard is it? How much job owning do you have to do every time you go across the border?
Yeah, well, the border's a ghost town compared to normal, right?
That's true,
So most days when I get to the border, I'm the only car.
Really?
Where if you say normally if I'm crossing the border, it depends what time of day, but I might be one of 500 cars, say, at the border. And so it's definitely a different world than that. And then it varies both sides. So when you re-enter into the U.S., it's just there's only one lane open versus 12 or 15 or whatever. There's one, and you're the only car. When you enter the U.S., it's basically just kind of similar protocol, but usually there's 3 people there, and there's almost always a dog sniffing. So I think there's certainly they're like, wow, the people that are really trying to cross might be trying to do some bad things. So you get a little bit more of a probe and search than you might normally. Coming back to Canada is a little bit even more, what I would say, thorough. U.S. Customs actually does a pre-screen before you even get to the border.
Really? Yeah, you have to check in.
Yeah, so you stop with the U.S. Customs first, and you talk to those folks for a minute or two, and turn off the car, and they search it, mirrors, dogs, the whole deal. Then you get the Canadian folks, and at this point, because of my status as a permanent resident, and then also deemed an essential worker because of my position within the business, I'm allowed to cross. But they're doing very thorough medical questions, and have you been anywhere? Where have you been? Not felt well? These types of things. And then they want to know where you're going, right? So address, phone number, this and that, so they can do the appropriate contact tracing and everything else. And then they've now not been doing it, but at one time there was a third checkpoint after you cross the border where they would do additional health screening, but they've stopped doing that. I think that's just really out of where the numbers are. I don't think the numbers in BC supported all that extra labor and cost that was associated with that, because it was a good, I think, prohibitive step. It was a good decision in the beginning, but I think over time they just figured out that wasn't necessary.
Well, it's good that you can do that, because otherwise it would be quite the situation.
Yeah. So you don't have to quarantine both. You don't have to self-quarantine either side because you go over every day type of thing.
Yeah.
He has the right permit.
Yeah.
Well, if he stayed a long time, maybe he would, but not at this frequency, right?
Yeah, and then, again, just what I would say is just what I'm also doing is, look, I want to be cautious and careful. And so I kind of have pretty strict quarantine rules at my house on the other side of the border. We live in a rural area. We're not a big city to begin with. But, I limit where they're all going and their contact as it is. Right. And certainly, those are the only folks I'm really exposed to, because I don't really go anywhere when I'm down there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
all right.
Howie,
you have any final question?
Your story is a great story. Well, no, I'm just going to say it's a great story, and good luck. And we want to hear more. Obviously, I know we're going to hear more about this, and great.
And like you said, it's a Canadian success story. It's also a Chris Smith success story, and everybody's going to win. And this is what we love. And you're really one of the first positive aspects that we've had on the show. Yeah. And it's hope, and it's excitement, it's entrepreneurship, it's guts, it's maximum effort. And congratulations, Chris.
Yeah, and let's tell everybody in Vancouver or in Lower Mainland in British Columbia that may or may not be listening, but if they are, go and check it out.
Check it out. Yeah,
Fabulous.
It's the new fitness world
Super
for friends and family. And we look forward to hearing some great things from you, Chris. We'll have you back maybe in about a month, and you'll be able to tell us what it looks like now.
All right, we'll keep you guys updated. I appreciate all their time and what we're doing here.
Thanks for being on the show, Chris.
Thanks for being on the show.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's interesting. At least some good news.
Yeah, it's a great story.
It's going to go. I mean, the key is the members telling other people, let's go. I mean,
well, from what I hear, they really knocked down the prices, which is the most important thing for everybody. But they're also adding new values, And plus, I mean, I don't like to say it, but the old group had 30 some odd clubs. Mm-hmm. Now they have half. They certainly can get some of the best staff, right, to be part of the new club. There, sure. The best of everything. Be the best member experience. Everything brand new, exciting, and cheaper. What could be better, right?
Well, it's cheaper, and it's going to cost less to run the whole business on top of it all. And you can, I don't want to say get away with things, but you can do a lot for your bottom line right now.
Well, the way that the low-priced, value-priced companies are, they're so lean in terms of staffing.
You have to get used to that from having from the old way it was to now. I mean, you're not going to have 4 salesmen waiting. You don't even have, in the crunch model,
crunch model, the manager is the salesman.
Right. And that's where it's
Salesperson.
going to be. You got to be
Yeah.
online. You got to have 1 or 2 staff. That's it.
And that's it. I mean,
That's
I
where the money
remember
is made.
I remember in Taiwan we had 45
Yeah.
sales counselors all the time. So we had about 70 because we were open from 5 to midnight, and they didn't leave until midnight. So we had 2
They're all on the
shifts.
phone at between 2 and 4 o'clock. yapping
Total
on the phone all the
pandemonium.
time. Yeah.
But that club had $1 million in EFT monthly. And that club did $13 million in EBITDA in its first year at a cost of $4.5 million to make. So that's the world record. And maybe, Chris, if you're still listening, that's the bar, my friend. That's the bar.
Yeah. We expect to see $16 million EBITDA from your 16 clubs
Yeah.
a year from
So
now.
I guess hopefully everyone out there is surviving and doing the best that they can. Our hearts are broken that they shut you down again in California and some other places, but nothing
Still, there's a
other than
future.
sympathy.
Somewhere there's a future.
We have our classes coming out in about a week, our webinar and our master class. And in it, we give you the left and the right, the uppercut, everything to fight your way out of this mess when you're reopening, or the ones that have just opened are doing well. We'll make sure you do 10 times better.
Yeah.
You're doing okay. We'll make sure you do great. So
Right.
check it out. We're here for you. You have any comments or anything, questions for us, contact the Fitness Guerrillas on Facebook. We'll answer them right away. We're here for you, right?
We're here.
And we'll see you on Monday, 1 o'clock. Until then, Fitness Guerrillas over and out.
Over and out. Bye-bye.